team and now these haters salty.
Come on, everybody. We are back. It's Wednesday,
back.
July 17th. Welcome to the East Coast Running Gold podcast. I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and your girl Bex. How's everyone doing?
Doing good.
Praying that the lights don't go back out.
Yeah. Like I said, before we signed on, it's definitely probably headed my way. So
Expect one of us to go dark.
yes.
Storms in here.
Yeah, so we'll have Brent Jones on in a little bit. But first, I really didn't want to talk about BA. He requested his trade, which I guess, in the 11th hour, a week before training camp. What do you guys think? Go ahead, Ty.
Well, I'd like to ask: is anyone surprised?
No.
Isn't this right out of the wide receiver off-season extension playbook?
Shenanigans, yeah.
Right, it's right out the playbook. This
On
was the
one
last
hand, you're
step.
absolutely right. On the other hand, last week, wasn't he saying, I really want to stay? My family's here. I really want to stay. I'm just like, just knock it off, all of it.
Yeah.
In fact,
There you go.
you want to drink.
That's how you deal with it. You crack one open.
That's how I
did.
That.
Thank you, Throwback.
Yeah. What's up, Dawn? What's up, Throwback? Yeah, it's all par for the course. It's like shenanigans as usual, I guess we can say. Not surprised at it. They'll still be negotiating in the background and working things out. So he can go to online and go to social media and do all the antics he wants to do. We know they're still working on it. So, and we know the date, right? Earliest person to sign was the 21st. So we'll go from there. But let's transition.
Yeah, let's bring on our special guest. We got 4-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champ, Brent Jones.
Hey guys, I survived. I couldn't get on Chrome for whatever reason. My Safari kept popping up, and I'm more stressed out than a 2-minute drive in the Super Bowl.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you made it.
Candy here to help, but yeah,
I know.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome,
it's great
Brent.
to be on.
All right.
So, before we get into 49ers news, let's just talk a little bit about the Golden Heart Fund. Let people know what it is, what it is today. Go ahead.
Jess, probably 7 or 8 years ago, a couple of us former players from the old days, Ronnie Lott, Harris Barton, we kind of got together, Ron Ferrari, and we were talking about the NFL and what it did to take care of players. They've come a long way, and I got to give them credit, but it's still not up to speed with taking care of guys that weren't millionaires, that didn't have all the success, that didn't have the success after the game, and they've struggled, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, whether it's financially. And we thought, you know what? We need to take care of our brethren. And so we put together this idea. It took us a year or so. And we thought, you know what? We're going to be basically former teammates giving a hand up to former teammates. And if you've played 1 year or 15 years with the 49ers, you're eligible. And we're there to bring you up, to help you out, to get you on the right path, to get you to the right doctors if it's something mental or physical. If it's financial, we're there for you. We're going to give you some guidance, give you some counseling, and it's been a remarkable success. And I have to say that we are the only player-led fund like that in the league. And the biggest issue, and you guys can appreciate this, former athletes have a lot of pride, even when they're down on their luck. And to have not an organization like the NFL with all this red tape and what have you, but to have your former teammates say, hey, we got your back, and we're going to help you out and we're going to get things right, has been very, very powerful. And so I'm awful proud of the accomplishments. We still have a long ways to go, but we're really making an impact, not even only just for the guys that are in dire need, but helping guys with their benefits programs, with what they qualify for. There's so many things and dollars out there in the NFL outside of just your pension. And it's tough to understand and to kind of maneuver through all the league red tape. And so we've created an opportunity for guys to learn. Basically, we have a concierge service that says, hey, these are the things that you qualify. These are some of the payments that you can get. These are some of the healthcare benefits that you and your family can get. And it's made a significant impact. And so we're pretty proud of what we've accomplished so far. But like I said, we've got a ways to go. There's other teams around the league that have taken notice, and we've talked to 3 or 4 teams that say, gosh, what a great model. We want to implement this in our organization.
That was my next question. Have any other teams been picking y'all's brains about that? Because I continue to be floored by that every time I go to an event. The last 2, out in San Jose this year and last year, all those events, they talk about how this is the only team that does that, and it just blows me away because there's quite a few other teams out there. So I had been wondering about that. So thanks for answering that.
Well, one of the things that we're pretty excited about is that we came up with it. We understood the need. But the need's there for all the other 31 teams, and it's really significant. And it's just guys get lost through the cracks, and it's tough to end your career. And a lot of guys, didn't have a next gig in line, and it's tough. And you can survive for a while on the amount of money you made. But I think people's perspective is that everybody is a millionaire. You're a pro athlete. Your life is set for good. And for 90% of the guys, it's not the case at all. And so guys really struggle, and there's depression, there's the physical ailments. The game, as you guys know, back then was much more violent, and there weren't rules to create that prevented you from getting
protection
destroyed. Nope. Yes. And so there's so many dynamics out there that we've come across that people aren't aware of. And it's tough, it's tough to get people to contribute. Hey, you want to help all these former pro athletes. And it's like, what? Those guys are all millionaires. And it's really not the case. And so we understood the need. It's great that the league is taking notice in other teams. And so, Maddie, I think there's going to be some movement with other teams getting on board here over the next year or two.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Really awesome.
Brent, did your background in financial management help you try to organize this and put any of that into this, or was it just a passion of the heart, or how did this all come to fruition?
So that was a great question, because you got to have a couple of different skill sets, and we all played. We all had a next career. Harris, Ronnie, Ron Ferrari, and myself. And we realized that some of our teammates were left behind. Not everybody had that. Not everybody had somebody guiding them. I think professional athletes have some great skill sets that would be great in the real world. But if you don't have a mentor, if you don't have somebody guiding you or pushing you into the right direction, guys just kind of get lost. And so the financial background was certainly important. I mean, obviously you got to have some financial management tools to make this thing work, to understand, to fundraise, to be able to invest some of the investment amounts to be able to keep this thing going. And we'd really, I have to give credit. Mr. DeBartolo obviously was one of our first stops, and he was so influential in all of our lives and able to take care of your family. He's always been a family guy, has taken care of players forever. He is one of the most unique humans that I've ever met. And he is really kind of our guiding light. He stood up first. Also the York family, they've been fantastic, and they've understood the need as well. And so they are probably two of our biggest supporters, but we've gone out, we've done events, we've raised money, we've all contributed individually as well. And we're just trying to keep this thing going and coming up with ideas for fundraisers and to be able to create this funding, because the need is really big. And it's breathtaking sometimes when you see some of your former teammates struggling and having issues in their life, and you think, wow, this guy was so squared away, 15, 20 years ago. But that's just, life happens. And our real thing is, we want to say, you know what, the Niner brotherhood is there for every guy that's ever played. And I think that speaks first and foremost to Eddie, because he taught us all that. But it speaks to the guys and the character of the guys that founded this thing, because they're really committed to making sure their former teammates are taken care of. And it's had a real big impact. The stories are quite remarkable.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to donate, there is a QR code in the corner, and there's also the URL that's running on the ticker on the bottom. Brent, what is your favorite memory of being a 49er?
Just there's there are
Loaded
so
question, right?
many, but I'm gonna give you the games are most amazing, but I'm gonna give you the most random, most unique perspective, and I'm sure you guys will appreciate. So it was my first year in training camp. I was drafted by the Steelers. They said I was the tight end of the future. I got in a car accident 2 weeks later. I had a herniated disc, and I was put on injured reserve. And a month into the season, they said, we're not sure your neck's getting better, and we're going to release you. And so I came home thinking my dreams of playing professional football were over. Had teams interested in me. The 49ers were one. And I told my agent, I'm going to stay here local. I'm going to stay in town. I'm going to go to the 49ers, and I'm going to give it my best shot. And I balled out all training camp. Like, I was insane catching the ball, just trying to get somebody to even notice me. We used to go to training camp with 120 guys. Now it's limited to 80. There was 1 million guys, and you might never, ever get your opportunity. And I remember it was the last week of training camp in Rockland. The first team was out there, and I was on the sideline sitting on my helmet, basically down on one knee, thinking I probably better get ready to apply for my real estate license, because I don't know that I'm going to make it. And I remember hearing my name. Like, I was daydreaming about getting a job, and Mike Holmgren was screaming my name at the top of his lungs. And I stood up and I started running toward him. And it was the first team offense against the first team defense. And of course, I wasn't with the first team offense. I wasn't even close. And Russ Francis had been hurt. John Frank had taken a breather, and Mike Holmgren wanted to put me into the first unit. And I remember sprinting into the huddle, and there I stood right next to Dwight Clark, and there was Jerry Rice, and there was Randy Cross and Keith Farnhorst, and there was Roger Craig. And I stared right across the huddle, and the guy staring at me was number 16. And I was like, holy crap. Whatever you do, don't ask for anybody's autograph. And that was really my thought. Like, act like you belong. And Joe called the play. And, of course, nobody covered me because nobody knew who the heck I was. And Jerry was doubled, and Joe threw me a ball. I made a great catch. And I was so excited. I came back to the huddle, and Joe said, hey, nice catch, number 90. And you just think about that. If you're number 90, you ain't making the team. You're not supposed to make the team.
As a tight end, yeah, especially.
Yeah.
Of all my memories, and Super Bowl, catching a touchdown in the Super Bowl, unbelievable playoff games, unbelievable comebacks, playing with some of the best players that have ever played the game, that very first experience where, like, wow, I could be one of these guys, was my most memorable.
I always say you're the blueprint for the tight ends. You
awesome.
were that guy that played that position for all those years.
Thanks, Beck. I wanted even more passes. Like, it's great to block, and I get it.
Yeah.
But you know what? Being the tight ends going against linebackers and safety is one of the greatest mismatches, and we've seen it kind of come out over the years. And of course, George Kittle exemplifies that times 10. And it's one of the toughest positions to cover if you can have a tight end that can do something in the passing game. And it's a great mismatch. And it was so much fun. And to think that my quarterbacks were Joe and Steve, like, how can you? I mean, you can't.
Not bad, huh?
And I was with Jerry a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about the old times, and it's just like you feel like you're right back there on the field. Of course, you're way older, you're in your 60s, but it was Camelot, to be honest, back in the old days.
And I always loved listening to John Madden. He would just go off the chains talking about when he was picking his all Madden team. When he talked about you as a tight end, he just couldn't stop with his glowing accommodations for the players that he picked on the team. So, I was always like in love with the way John Madden picked his all Madden team. And I just, I was looking back at some of the things when we knew we were having you on, and I was like, look at that.
Back to you just think about that was so important to me. And John was such a dear guy, and in making that was so important. And this generation doesn't really have that. I don't know that they can appreciate. I have my all Madden sweatshirts. I have an all Madden jacket.
Nice.
My youngest daughter was going to wear it to a Niner game this year, and she's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "Oh, that'll be legit. People that know will know."
Yeah.
So I mean, of course, 35 years old or whatever, but it was the best. And what a dear guy, and he did so much for the game and his family. And it's like, man, I get goosebumps just thinking about him.
Exactly. Yeah.
That 94 team, which is a long time ago, and fun fact, the last time this franchise held up a Lombardi trophy, we were approaching the 30-year anniversary of that, which makes us all feel old, and we can all, deal with that later.
Way to bring the mood down, Matt.
We're coming back. Has any team, because in Steve Young's book, he talked about how you were a big sounding board for him throughout his career, but really in 94, because that was kind of the peak of it, because at that time, the monkey was still on his back, as the phrase would go. Has any team faced that much pressure? And is this current iteration of the 49ers about to face this much pressure? Is it like in terms of make or break years and things like that?
Matt, I actually think that's a great analysis. And I feel like that 94 team did face that much pressure because free agency just came into the league. And we grabbed Dion, which, that eliminated half the field for offenses, which was so significant. And we had Richard Dent and Charles Mann and Kenny Norton and Gary Plant. I mean, we had guys. And so all the things that people had thought Eddie had done in years prior, we always picked up guys that were cut from other teams. There was no free agency, but this was the real deal. So now we were stacking our team, and a lot of the pressure fell on Steve. And I believe that team felt the most pressure. You guys can remember early in the season getting blown out by the Eagles. And we weren't playing together. We weren't communicating, and we were still kind of figuring each other out. But after that, it was such a galvanizing moment that we didn't look back. That was such a talented team. And I mean, we really never faced, outside of the Cowboys in the championship, a team that could even compete with us. And I think that we are exponentially better than the Cowboys that year. This 49er team should have won it last year. Let's be honest. Yeah. They were more talented than the Chiefs across the board. Yeah. We were one defensive stop away from winning the Super Bowl yet again. And it was so hard to watch as a former player, but now the pressure is dialed up even that much more, because I think that this is the team that is the most talented in the NFL. They didn't win the Super Bowl last year. They're still the most talented team in the NFL. And the window is shrinking, right? It's closing. It's not going to be this way. Brock Purdy's contract isn't going to be $900,000 next year. And so it's just, you're not going to be able to keep everybody and put this thing together. And so, yes, I absolutely believe that they have the pressure on them. It'll be interesting to see how they'll respond, because they have responded pretty well under pressure outside of the Super Bowl loss. But I think this team is special. I think they care about each other. I think that we've got the right guidance and the right coaching. And outside of the injury issue, which, that applies to every great team, I think this is the year. And I said that last year, and man, I'm still a little pissed, in all honesty. Like, we should have won that game. And you guys can appreciate, my grandkids watch the game with me, and we haven't won, and I have grandkids. And so they're obsessed. One thinks he's Christian McCaffrey. The other thinks he's Brock Purdy. They're 6-4. They were crushed that the Niners lost to the Chiefs, and they were upset. We obviously,
my 9-year-old son, same thing, same deal, Brent.
We don't drill it into them, and these little guys are like, they're all in, and we're living in Texas, and they're sporting a Brock Purdy jersey and a Christian McCaffrey jersey almost every day in Dallas, Texas, and ripping Cowboy fans. And it is just the greatest feeling to walk around Texas with that going on with your little grandkids. So it better happen this year. I'm expecting it. It better happen.
Love it. I love it.
Here's a little note from my brother. Brent, you're his all-time favorite player. And, thank you for all the great memories.
That is awesome. Chris, you can come hang out with me in Texas anytime. Come hang out. We'll watch the Niner game on Sunday.
There you go.
We'll have a blast, because there's nothing like being part of the Niner family. And it's great to have people from, I call them the old days, unfortunately, because we are old. But this team just is so reminiscent of our team, and the guys, the personalities, and the guys that we have. And it just makes it fun. And I'm trying to survive the next 6 weeks of nothing on TV and no excitement until the season starts.
Yeah.
Painful.
Except for the the Brent and IU chaos.
Oh my gosh. And just when I think everything is okay, it flames up. And I think so. Today's player is different, right? How do you negotiate? You unfollow your team, on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, and you get frustrated. But I just feel like, first and foremost, this is not a time to get rid of Brandon Ayuk. We've already got this year's team. We got it going. His value isn't what you would want if we had to trade him. And I say had to. I certainly don't want to. But the only way they're going to make him play under his current contract if they don't sign a deal here really soon. And I guess, they're $4 or $5 million a year short. And I get it from both sides. Everybody certainly wants more, but from a strategic perspective, he's going to have to play this year, and he's going to have a good attitude, or else he's going to hurt himself financially in a significant way. My guess is the first half of the season, he either comes out balling and we get the extension and everybody goes away happy and we keep him for the future, or some other team loses a receiver. He's not having a great year and he's not having a great attitude, and we send him away for some significant value. I hate talking like that, because I think guys that are important to our team, I never would want to get rid of, but this is this day and age's NFL. But he's a significant contributor. He's a big part of the team. I don't want to see him go away at all. But if he does go away, I don't want to get him away for a second round pick and say, yeah, whatever. That's just, that's foolish. And so It might be painful for him for several weeks, but if he comes out with a great attitude and he's balling, he's going to get his 30 million plus for sure. And I just think that's the way it's going to go. And so it's unfortunate the way the cap works and the way that all these things come together. But let's face it, we're trying to win a Super Bowl. We're not trying to placate one guy.
Well said. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
trying to celebrate that 30-year anniversary in the best way possible.
Because I'm right with you guys. Like, I had a couple of my friends saying, we can't lose Brandon Ayuk. I'm like, it's just kind of, it's a little bluster. I get it. It's been quiet for a month. He's just kind of like, hey, I'm still here and I'm not signed. And that's just the way the NFL works nowadays. Well, mostly with receivers. Those darn receivers.
Wide receiver off-season playbook.
There you go. I promise you.
All right, so I want to talk a little tight ends. You mentioned George Kittle a little bit. Your thoughts on him? He actually is my favorite player, so why not?
This is going to circle it back to tight ends and George, because
it's perfect. You know what?
If you didn't know that before,
and I got a follow-up question after that. But go ahead.
Perfect. So I love
Me
George too. Being a former tight end, I love the way he embraces the game. His enthusiasm, his energy is great, but he is a great player, and he's in line blocking his tail off, and he's down the field receiving. He runs great routes. He is a big play guy. He's yards after the catch. In my opinion, if he had the amount of targets and opportunities that Travis Kelce has, he would blow Travis Kelce away. And it's the difference is Travis Kelce doesn't have any other players on the team worth a darn. And George stuck with, 3 or 4 other big playmakers. And so they kind of have to spread the ball around as part of the way that they run the offense. But I think from a dangerous standpoint, in terms of down the field, in terms of yards after the catch, in terms of game-breaking stuff, I think he's the best tight end in the league. I think Travis does a great job in terms of using his size. He's always there. It feels like teams don't cover Travis Kelce. It's like there's a league rule, like, hey, let this guy go and be standing in the middle,
wide open.
Yeah. Like, I don't get it. George doesn't get that same effect and coverage, but he's still a significant part of the team. And I know that, every player wants more touches, more catches, more opportunities. But I think one of the successes of the 49ers offense is, we have guys all over the place at 5 positions that can catch the ball and make an impact. And that's including our running backs. McCaffrey out of the backfield is a nightmare matchup for most people. And, a guy that doesn't get a lot of acknowledgement is Juwan Jennings. And I'm like, that guy's a matchup disaster for defenses too. And it's like, he should be catching more passes. And I know Debo should be catching. I know Brandon wants more. It's like, we can't throw it every single play. So it just is. In the end, these guys, they'll realize at some point in their career, individual stats are great, but man, to have a ring is greater. And I think they get that, but there are times where you feel like, hey, I want to be a contributor. I want to be part of this thing. I don't want to be left out. And it all makes sense to me. And if you can kind of combine that with the greater good of the team, and there's going to be points in times during the season where guys are frustrated. That's just the way it goes. That happened with us as well. But if you can just kind of squelch that, not come out publicly, not create dissension in the locker room, and just work together, this team is special, and this team should have a ring, and it's frustrating that they don't yet. Sorry, that was a long answer on George.
No, that's okay.
That was good. It was good.
I actually have a follow-up. Have you been invited to Tight End University?
I have not, and I'm a little pissed. Can we bring in some old guys?
This is breaking news.
Brent, I haven't either. And I'm pissed too.
University?
Like,
like I'm sure our thoughts and moves are archaic to them. We're like caveman, like rolling the first stone. But can't you just give us a T-shirt and a hat and let us come and hang out?
I tell you,
like,
you're the blueprint.
We started this
have to
passing
message
You started
torch.
this gig.
Yeah.
You are the man who to me are the blueprint for tight ends.
We started this throwing the ball to the tight ends
Hello,
thing.
George.
Bring in some some old timers. Give them some opportunities for the new guys.
It has a lot of cachet.
John Frank can give him a nose job. It'll be great. Everybody can do all sorts of things, right?
It's you got to love those tight ends being successful in other areas of life. That's
absolutely
so important. Good call, Matt.
Good smart guys.
That was a good walk-off by him. That was like a subtle walk-off. Like people talk about John Elway, but that was pretty sweet.
For that,
and it worked out for you too. Yeah,
I was rooting for him to be a doctor the whole time.
Yeah.
John, I think you'd be a really good doctor. And I'm not just saying that.
Doctor.
You're missing your calling here.
You can't afford to break that hand again. Just let me remind you.
Hey, Brent.
Can I interest you?
Oh,
go ahead, Ty.
Wait. When people talk about the 49ers, of course, it's all about the legacy of the quarterbacks, from Joe to Steve, and we understand what they accomplished, and they're the pretty boys. We get it. And they talk about the wide receivers, and there were some great ones, without a doubt. But we need to start talking about the tight end legacy here. You've already mentioned some names: John Frank, Russ Francis. You got yourself. We move on to Delaney Walker, and
Vernon Davis.
Vernon Davis. Sorry, yeah. Now we're moving on to George Kittle, and we could throw in, the Eric Johnsons of the world who played very well for this team through those years. That's a long legacy of some great tight ends.
Dave Wilcox.
Dave Wilcox. There you go.
You know what? And you can't forget the great Ted Qualk and Ty. I mean, teams don't have 7 or 8 all-pro tight ends in their history. No. That's just not the case. And there are some special ones. And I love the fact that you mentioned Eric Johnson, because I think people forget about him, but he was a heck of a ball player too. Yes. He did all right. I think he married up.
He should have been a kicker, because he definitely outkicked his coverage.
I'm telling you, I was always rooting for my wife to make more money than me, but she didn't. But there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But you make a great point, and I think sometimes it gets overlooked because of the quarterbacks and the receivers, and obviously we've had some of the greatest. And it's a special organization, and there's really a brotherhood with those tight ends that came before me and came after me. And I just love those guys. It's such it's a unique position, because you don't get all the attention all the time, and you're called to be a lineman half the time and a receiver the other half. And you get beat up and you get knocked down, and you get hit on, not quite the same as a wide receiver. Yeah. And it takes a different type of guy to play the position. And I have so much respect for those guys. I got a chance to be around Vernon a couple times, and, he was special as well. And I think all the guys that you mentioned in their own unique way have contributed to this great legacy of tight ends with the 49ers. And we're fortunate. I mean, you look at the organization and the years and the players that we've had, that's very unique. There's 1 or 2 other teams in the league that probably have what we have, and most teams don't even have anywhere near that. And so it's special, and it's great to remember the past and the people that you grew up watching. But it's also awesome and exciting to watch the new in this new generation of guys. They're probably not at the point yet, but one of these days they'll be the old generation, and it's hard to understand, but it happens to us all. And like I said, I was with Jerry a couple of weeks ago and saw Ronnie a few weeks back. I talked to Joe today, and it's like, these guys are legends and we're all in our 60s. And it's like, what the hell happened? How are we in our 60s? I still have dreams
Brent is doing like vaccine commercials now.
Yeah, what the hell?
I know.
I had a dream. I have dreams
as like
3 or 4
the,
times
like,
a month that I'm still
guy.
playing. It's like, what the heck? Who are we playing this week?
Right? Like last week you were playing a game, right?
Yeah, it feels exactly like that.
It does. It does. I'm only
really
29
does.
and my daughters can be 28. So I'm not sure how that happened.
It's exactly how I judge.
You're a time traveler.
My kids, yeah.
Clearly time travel. Clearly.
Yeah. Hey,
So-
I got a quick fan question.
Oh,
Wait, I got a
ahead.
quick fan question. At the start of your career, your Niners career, was it a deliberate decision by you to be Montana's early pregame catch partner?
Man, that is somebody that was going to the games and paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's by
it
Ted Schwartz from
wasn't a
California. Shout out to
deliberate
Ted.
decision by me. But so quarterbacks should go out to warm up early, and some guys like to be in the locker room, and some guys like, I got pregame jitters. I want to go out and be on the field and catch the ball and get ready. And it just happened that I was there, and a lot of times the receivers and some of the other tight ends wouldn't come out for another 15 minutes. So yeah, I was right there catching balls and winging it with Joe, and then subsequently Steve. And that was just like my pregame ritual. It was awesome. You don't think about it, but that was it for me. And there I was, and it never hurts. And I didn't think about this, but it never hurts to be available for the quarterbacks and whisper in their ear, "Hey, don't forget this play today. You better throw it to me on this play."
I'm open on this play. Always.
Exactly.
Or they're confident if they throw it to you in a certain way or under, in your little drills that you've got good hands, you're probably going to catch something if they get it to you. So
they better
it definitely doesn't hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
To be available, right?
That's exactly right. Just always be in their ear. They're right there. They look around. There
Back
you
of
are.
their
Like,
mind.
yeah, that's right. Make sure that they know you're there.
100%.
So what was it like playing for Joe and Steve?
So it was so unique, so much the same, and then yet so different. So, I mean, you guys, I just graduated high school. I was a freshman at Santa Clara. I was a baseball player, 49ers. My whole life I'd grown up. In 72, they were good. They choked. They lost to the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game when they were ahead by like 2 or 3 touchdowns. And then they were never any good from that point on. And I knew the names, but the 49ers were never in the mix. And this is horrible to say. I mean, and people know this. I was a Cowboys fan. My mom's friend was dating Roger Staubach. And like, what are the odds? And so I'm like, okay, I'm a young kid. I'll like the Cowboys. And nobody liked the Cowboys in the Bay Area, but I liked them. And, you could see him on TV every now and then. And that was, the only time you'd figure out what happened to him would be on Monday Night Football at halftime to see the highlights. But I liked the 49ers, but they were never any good. And then I thought this 49er team is never going to win a Super Bowl. They've been horrible my whole childhood. And then in 81, we drafted Ronnie Lott. We drafted Eric Wright. Here comes Joe. Here comes Dwight out of the blue. They're winning games. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to choke in the playoffs. And play the Cowboys during the regular season, kill them. Played them in the playoffs. When Dwight made that catch, I almost cried, literally. I didn't go out of my room other than to go to school for the next 2 weeks. My friends were razzing me like, "Yeah, Cowboys guy, we kicked your butt." The Niners were going to the Super Bowl. I was so depressed. And all of a sudden, 5 years later, I was standing in the huddle with Joe. And it's so weird. It was so surreal to be in the Bay Area, to grow up, to watch this guy, to watch him win a Super Bowl, to watch him win the second Super Bowl, and then I'm in the huddle for the third Super Bowl. And it's just, you're kind of pinching yourself. But everything that you hear about Joe's just a regular dude. He's a good guy. He's super smart. He's super quiet. He keeps to himself unless he knows you. Super funny, great sense of humor, can be super sarcastic, can be the funniest guy for sure. You don't want to cross him. And that is one thing I learned for sure. But he's Joe Cool in the huddle all the time. You never saw him panic, never saw him look flustered, never saw him ever like lose his composure. He's just a very, very calm demeanor. And ironically, I see the same thing in Brock Purdy. And people say, well, you can't compare Brock Purdy to Joe Montana. Well, damn right I can, because I know I can tell both their personalities, and I can see how they react. I can see how they move. I can see their facial expressions. I can see their body language. Very, very similar. Steve, on the other hand,
seemed to react to them the same way too. Am I right on that?
It's really true. And let's face it, neither one of them had John Elway's arm, but stronger than people know. I mean, they both can wing it, but what they both do is they anticipate so well, and they put the ball where the receiver is going to be. And that is way more important than having a strong arm. A strong arm actually creates overconfidence, in my opinion, a lot of times with a lot of these quarterbacks that leads to interceptions. But the ability to anticipate and have touch and to understand and to see the field and to process the defense at a higher level, that's what they both have. Now, Steve had the same thing, except Steve had the ability to run. Steve was a 4.5 guy, maybe even a 4.48 guy. And his inclination was to run because he came from Tampa Bay, where he's getting the crap beat out of him.
Yeah.
And he had to learn how to be a throwing quarterback. And I watched him gradually over 2 or 3, 4 years learn from Bill first and foremost. But then Mike Shanahan, I think, brought him to the next level and gave him the confidence. And so then Steve had those two valuable skills. He could throw, he was accurate, he could process, and he could run. And so he was in the huddle. He was a little bit more fiery, and I'd say maybe jumpy than Joe. He could be calm, but he could also be cat on a hot tin roof. He could be emotional. He could be calm. Joe was always kind of even keel. They were both spectacular to play for. I mean, 2 Hall of Famers. It was so unique to experience both of them, for Joe for the first half of my career and Steve for the second half. It was a blessing. It was awesome. They were both, like I said, very similar and yet very different. Both wicked smart. They knew every nuance of every play. And you didn't question them. And it was just, I think it gave guys an unbelievable amount of confidence that they always knew what was happening, no matter what play came in from the sideline. And so it's a really good question, Jess. And it was unique and special all at the same time.
You caught your first touchdown pass in '88 in that Phoenix game, where one of those fixed point in time games that every book I've ever read, it's basically like if Steve Young and the 49ers, if the 49ers win that football game and Steve Young is the starting quarterback for it, there's a good possibility Steve Young ends up being the starting quarterback for the rest of the season. And there's this controversial play on the sideline where it looked like Steve got the first down. He didn't. Bill Walsh ends up breaking his ribs. You caught your first NFL touchdown pass to make it 23-0. Like, settle it once and for all. Did Steve get that first down, and did we get screwed? Or, like, how did that whole thing – or did it work out the way – clearly it worked out the way it was supposed to, but I've always wondered.
I have a million memories of that game, and first and foremost, I thought Steve got the first down. Second of all, that special teams play on the sideline, we ran that play back a million times in films. Bill got destroyed. Like, no wonder he broke his ribs. Like, I'm surprised he even survived. I caught my touchdown and we're ahead 23-0. I'm like, woohoo, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to celebrate. And in the fourth quarter, we gave up 24 points. It was the biggest debacle after the game. Everybody, I thought the world was ending. I thought they could have cut the whole team. Eddie came in and went off. Like, it was ugly. A glass Coke machine was destroyed. I'm not absolutely sure by who, but Bill looked like he was going to die. Eddie was going to punch somebody. Everybody was depressed. And ironically, that might have been the galvanizing point of our season. Now, I think we came out and lost to the Raiders the next week. So it wasn't like we had offensive fireworks, like it was 9-3 or something.
Galvanizing.
But I think people realized that heads were going to roll. And the most amazing thing is that team was so damn talented. We just weren't pulling in the same direction. And all of a sudden, we started to. You guys will laugh. It was a Ronnie Lott called players only meeting. Kick the coaches off the field, like to the point of like, here's how Ronnie do it. Get the hell off, Bill. Get the hell off the field.
Sounds like Ronnie.
And talk to Bill like that. You're going to not be gone. You're going to be gone tomorrow. And Ronnie said, look around. We're the guys that are going to win it. Not the coaches, not the media, not the owner. If we're going to win this, it's this. Look at the guy next to you. Like, this is bullshit. The way we're playing, and we are better than this. We own this. We have to make this happen. And I believe that was after the Raider game. And that combined with the Arizona loss, all of a sudden, whatever it was, whatever funk we're in, we snapped out of it, and we were on fire the rest of the year. It's fun to be able to tell these stories now because you really can't during the time it's happening.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. This is why we love talking to players that have already been through it. Like, you can tell these stories.
You better listen to Ronnie.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to end well if you don't listen to Ronnie.
Yeah, definitely not. He's a guy who's willing to sacrifice parts of his body.
Yes.
Yeah. The mental toughness and fortitude is on a different level.
Exactly.
So I got another fan question for you. How was it in the locker room when you guys finally beat Dallas in the NFC Championship game in '94?
Well, it's funny because in '92 we were the better team. We played them at home and we lost. And we didn't play well offensively. We didn't have an answer for their big wide receivers. And it was so frustrating when you have home field advantage. Then in '93, they were the better team. I think we had some injuries. We had some different guys, and hats off. I think they were the better team. But we had lost both of those games. And then here we come in '94, and it's like, you can do whatever you want during the season, but the Cowboys are going to show up either at our place or we're going to be at their place. And the fact is, we were able to beat them during the season, and then we had the opportunity to play them at home. And we came out of the gates. The Eric Davis interception was so great. We jumped on them. We had big plays. And then, golly sakes, I mean, I love George, but we went into the freaking four corners stall offense, and like, I was getting so nervous because we were ahead, but the Cowboys could catch up, and we just played it so close to the vest. It ended up being the right answer, but I would have loved a little more cushion. We never, when we got up 28-3, the second half, we just sat on the ball and played out the clock, which doesn't feel good when you have weapons, but it ended up being the right answer. And you guys, I can honestly say, like, back then, the NFC was so much more powerful than the AFC. Like, we just felt like the Super Bowl was the Cowboys game. This is the NFC Championship. And, before the Cowboys, it was the Giants, and we kind of fumbled away that one. But in my career, I played 11 years with the Niners. I was in 7 NFC championship games.
Yep.
And I'm furious. I should have been in probably 8 or 9, but I lost 4 of them. So I only won 3 Super Bowls, but I should have 5 or 6 Super Bowl rings because we were that good. And you're like, okay, yeah, sure, old guy. But we were that good. The Redskins won it in 91. I think we were 10-6. We didn't get into the playoffs. We beat the Bears, like, who were in like 52-3 on Monday night. Like, we were better than everybody. We had some injuries. We had lost to the Giants in 90, 91 we didn't get in. 92 we had the best team and we lost the Cowboys. 93 Cowboys had the better team. They beat us. 94 it was like, we're back. Like, here we are. We're back where we belong. And so that locker room, to answer your question, Jess, we were ecstatic because we knew what it meant and we were going to be well prepared to play the Chargers. And we did not think that they were going to be, we're obviously respectful, but they weren't the same force that the Cowboys were.
I just remember watching Michael Irvin and Emmitt Smith on ESPN for the championship game, talking so much garbage about how hard they were going to blow out the 49ers in the championship game leading into that Super Bowl. And I was just like, I will throw up in my mouth if I anymore. And then when we won, I was just like, oh, make them stop talking, please.
If they would have beat us 3 in a row, I would probably do no podcast. I wouldn't be on.
It is the craziest interview. They're like punching each other.
Those guys,
always laughing, having a good time. And I was like, sit down.
Exactly. They're actually amusing now, and I love those guys. But back then, they were not very amusing.
They were not amusing.
No.
Michael Irvin is, yes, I'll agree. Michael Irvin's amusing now, but he wasn't then.
He was not.
All right. So your thoughts on Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch?
For me, it's an unfair question. I mean, I followed John at Stanford, loved his career, great ball player. Didn't know he'd be a great GM, and I love him. I love what he's done. I love the man. I love the character. I love the competitiveness. I think he's proven to be one of the better GMs in the National Football League, and God bless him. I'm thrilled we have him. Kyle's a little bit different for me. Kyle was a ball boy in 94, and I went to a couple of Kyle's high school games because I just thought he was a great kid. I love Kyle. I love his personality. I love his mind. I think he is spectacular. I know that he hasn't won the big one yet. That doesn't take away the fact that he's a spectacular coach. And I know every now and then we have some 49er people going, hey, what's Kyle doing? It's like, have you paid attention? Have you looked at the other 31 coaches? Like, do you think they're perfect? Do you think that almost every other team in the league would trade with us? So sometimes people don't have the perspective. I think Kyle understands offense as good as anybody that's been around. A lot of times the players have to execute, but I think the way that he sets up plays, the way that he sets up defenses to get lost in the shuffle. We have wide open guys in so many plays. His motion, his play action, all the things that he does, his scheming. I am a huge Kyle fan, and I get it. People say, hey, it's all about winning the Super Bowl. And I understand that, but he's going to win multiple Super Bowls in his career. And so we've got to just be patient, and it's so close. But I know Kyle wasn't on the field for that last defensive stand, actually in the last couple Super Bowls. And so we've just got to make plays when we need to make plays. And the best thing you can do as a head coach is to have your team ahead in the last few minutes of the fourth quarter. I mean, that's pretty darn good coaching. But Yeah, both Kyle and John are, in my mind, spectacular. Yeah. Can you nitpick each guy? Yeah, you can nitpick every player, every coach, everybody if you want to. But I think we have it pretty damn good in the Bay Area, and so I'm riding with those guys, and I hope they're coaching until they ride off into the sunset, coaching and GMing all the way to the end.
I hope so too.
Oh yeah.
Amen to that.
So, what do you remember more? Do you remember wins or losses more?
That's just such a brutal question. I remember losses. I had to talk about this.
He didn't lose often, so
No.
they stick
Yeah.
with you.
Didn't.
This guy just talked about how many championship games he was in.
It's the worst. And I have to say, the number one, it's not even close. 1990, we're going to three-peat. We had the best team. It wasn't even close. We were going to beat the Giants. Joe got hurt. Steve came in, absolute deer in the headlights, did not know what he was doing, barely aware. And we had a 3rd and 19. We called the play 23 Texas, which is a fullback. Rathman going over the middle. If he would have caught the ball, he would have got 8 or 9 yards. And if they play too deep, I have a chance down the seam for 25 or 30 yards. Got up the line of scrimmage. They're in too deep. Steve's calling the play. I'm like, I'm sure he is not aware that it's too deep. So I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. The stadium's going crazy. Too deep, too deep. So he can be aware. Lawrence Taylor is standing right over me. He's pointing at me. Watch Jones. No duh. And Steve snaps the ball, drops back, hits me with a perfect pass down the seam for like 25, 30 yards. We're in Giants territory.
Yep.
The game is going to be over. I drop the ball. And I'm walking back to the huddle. I walk right by Lawrence Taylor. I never say anything. I was for the most part, I was quiet. Every now and then I'd say something. I said, LT, I'm going back to the Super Bowl. And it was going to be 3 in a row. And a couple plays later, the ball was on the ground. The Giants get the ball, drive down the field, kick the field goal. And I swear I'm still pissed. And I will never forget it. And it trumps every Super Bowl that I have. I got the trophies. They're right up there. Yeah. Those 3 trophies. I'm still pissed about the Giants game because we would have won 3 in a row, and nobody's going to win 3 in a row. The Chiefs have a chance this year. There's no way. They shouldn't have won 2 in a row.
They shouldn't have won 2 in a row.
You guys are getting me fired up. That's it.
Love
So
it.
I do remember the losses. They hurt so much more, and the wins are so great, and you're on cloud 9. But like I should have a couple more Super Bowl rings, you guys, and I'm not happy about it. And
we agree.
That's being greedy.
No, but we agree. I'm glad you talked about those lost years because we've talked about it here on the show, and we said, from 87 to 90, that could have been a 4-peat. Because that 87 team,
I remember that Viking game too.
Don't bring that up.
Nobody showed up except Anthony Carter that caught like 100 passes for 5,000 yards. Like, hey, we might want to cover Anthony Carter.
Somebody, please.
Holy cow! And I was sizing my finger for a Super. That was my first year. I'm like, I'm going to get a Super Bowl.
Look, it all went through the 90s too. Like there was a bunch of ridiculous, like the Packers game. One of the Packers games, Steve had a broken rib, and they fixed it 3 weeks later. Whoops, it's fine. And then even the year after you left, Garrison Hurst breaks his ankle in Atlanta. Like there was a big script there. There were so many how in the hell does this keep happening? You got to get up to get there, but like how does this bad luck keep happening in this situation?
I don't know. We could have been Patriot like, and should have been, and. I thought
we should
when
have
I
been
retired,
like in the Patriots licking our boots.
I know. I mean, of course, they're playing in the watered down NFL. We played when men were men, and there were no rules.
A lot of more painted concrete back then.
Colored tackles,
exactly, knocking guys out. There were no, illegal hits. It didn't matter.
So, are you going to any games this year?
I have to. I'm going to go to a game or two at least. because my grandsons are obsessed. And so I got to figure out which ones I'm going to go to. But they're like I said, the oldest one thinks he's Christian McCaffrey, and the youngest one, who's 4. How about this, you guys? This has never been done in history. My 4-year-old grandson, all on his own, what do you want to have for your birthday? Do you want to have like Sonic, or do you want to have, whatever birthday? He had a Brock Purdy birthday for 4 years old.
Aw.
He had pictures of Brock Purdy, 13 jerseys, and all his little friends had to wear a football jersey, but it was a Brock Purdy cake, Brock Purdy footballs given away. And I'm like, he's 4 years old. He's obsessed with Brock Purdy. And so we've got to be there. We've got to go to a couple of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, have to. You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. It's like, I've never even met Brock Purdy. It's like, I hope he's around. I hope he wants to meet an old guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure he definitely does.
I hope so.
We got to get you to meet Brock Purdy, and we got to get you an invite to Tight End U next year.
Exactly.
Goals,
Yeah.
I think, from this.
Hello,
Exactly. Like, talk about the old days.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Jess knows a guy.
I think they
She'll get
need
you in
that.
Tight End
They
U.
need that at Tight End University. Bring him
Yeah,
out.
I'll get you at Tight End University.
I need
alumni. Just gonna send an email.
Alumni day.
Yeah.
We're going to send a strongly worded email to the kids.
That's awesome. I'll take it.
Hey, I got a real
All
quick
right,
question for my own
go ahead,
curiosity.
Ty.
Sorry, Jess, this is real quick. I think it was like in 91, you broke your leg or something. Remember, I'm on the East Coast, and back then, getting like real 49er information was tough. So like in 91, I think you broke your leg or something. You had an injury, but you came, and I thought you were gone for the season. But out of nowhere, you returned like Lazarus and was balling. What was that injury?
So Ty, it was an ACL. My doctor, who had done who was my doctor at Santa Clara and became the 49ers team doctor, Michael Dillingham, had already done my ACL and my MCL, and I got hurt in the game, and he said, "It's your ACL. We're gonna have to have surgery." And I was so depressed. Like, after the game, it was all over. The next day, it didn't feel as bad. And the day after that, it felt better. And he's like, "Okay, let's MRI this thing." And he's like, "It's miraculous." He said, "That thing was torn. I know, I'm a doctor." He's like, "If you put a brace on, maybe you can play this weekend." And I play with a knee brace. And I had a couple of plays where I was running by guys that, like, the next week, and I thought my season was over, and they had pretty much announced me out for the season, and there I came back, and it was a miracle. It was like, God bless me with a new ACL, like, overnight, and somehow, some way, like, I played the rest of the year. I was like, this is unbelievable. I'll take it. No looking back.
There you go. God's a 49er fan. There you go.
Absolutely.
So now, earlier you mentioned that, Brock Purdy is, we're going to be paying Brock Purdy next season. We can't keep everybody together. Are we going to keep most of them?
Yes.
I just don't want to.
I'm all tied up. How do you say this? Like,
are we keeping George Kittle?
Are we keeping George Kittle?
So, Jess, I think it's going to be gradual. It'll be a player here or there. But my guess is this year's the year. I think next year will be fine. And then in subsequent years, we're going to have to pay the piper, sadly. And I love Jed. I love the fact he's been going for it. Like, Jed has stepped up so massively. I don't know that people truly appreciate. He's been going all in these last 3 years, and he's really going all in. And eventually, you kind of have to pay for going all in. And I think sometimes it's gradual, because I still think that we'll have a chance to win it the season after this. But after that, more guys' contracts are going to come up. More people want to be paid. Some guys are getting older, and it won't be this current crop. So I think we have we have 2 pretty good years left, and then it's going to start, and it might be slow attrition, or maybe they just pull the Band-Aid off and we suck for a year or two and try to build back. And it's just, unfortunately, it's just the way it is with the way the salary cap, unless something drastically changes with the way the league does the salary cap. But it's just, at some point, we're paying everybody, and at some point you can't pay everybody. And it's pretty remarkable that we are.
So, Brent, do you not think that we have coaches that are talented in drafting and what what they're doing now? I mean, look at Brandon Ayuk. And George Kittle and some of these, Brock Purdy. We're picking these guys in the later rounds that are turning into these gems. But do you not think that we still have that ability to like pluck these talented guys out of the draft? And
so Beck, I think we do. I think our scouting staff has proven themselves to be one of the best in the NFL. I just think you can pluck guys here or there, but they still need experience outside of, a Brock Purdy is such an anomaly, but they still need to kind of, George's first year drop some passes. People weren't like, he wasn't the obvious George Kittle that he is now. So it takes time to develop these guys. And in the midst of that, you've got players leaving or got key positions here or there. So I think we can build back. I think we've got the staff to do that, but there's going to be a couple years where it's probably not very fun. And that's, and think about it. There's some teams that every year is not very fun.
Off the cliff.
They're never having a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And
I was just wondering if you really felt like we're going to fall off the cliff, or if we're going to be able to maintain some reasonable.
I think we'll be decent. It just won't be the same expectations that we currently have. I mean, this team should win
Super Bowl talented. Yes.
Exactly.
We've been there in the sweet spot for a few years. Maybe we know we might make the playoffs, but not get that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be falling off the cliff.
If everything goes perfect, we make the playoffs. That hasn't been our mantra lately.
No.
All right. Anybody? Any other questions?
I guess I would just say, Brent, how can we, as the East Coast Red and Gold, help support the Golden Heart Fund? Like, what can
you guys? You can just bring awareness to it. Maybe when you have guests on, or maybe when you talk about it once a month, and just say, "Hey, this is something that's special to us." I mean, the fact that we have this East Coast podcast, I mean, it's so heartening for me. I moved to Dallas, and I've been to the Dallas 49er fan club every year for a game, and they are freaking out of control, psycho fans. And I know you guys are as well. And it's weird because
I see the tickets, and I live in Maine, Brent. So yeah,
when you're a player, you guys, you don't even know that people like that exist. And I think the older you get, you're like, this is amazing. Like all these people in Texas that are Niner fans. And then I see you guys, like, I promise you guys are not in the Bay Area going against wearing your Niner gear. I mean, you're the enemy wherever you are. And I think that's so special. And it says a lot about our organization and our fans. And I think that in and of itself is special. So if you give the Golden Heart Fund a shout out here and there, that is all we ask. It would be spectacular.
Will do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys,
we could talk to Brent until Monday, but I'm sure he has things to do. So
if you guys ever want to have me on during the season and let me riff, and we can all share our excitement, let me know.
Definitely.
Please.
For sure.
You're always welcome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, you're always welcome. Thank you, Brent.
Well, thank you guys. I'm finally glad I got my
thank
Chrome
you.
browser to get on. That was
good stuff,
man.
Good stuff.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Awesome having you.
Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Bye. All right.
Okay, well, I just kind of geeked out the whole time. Sorry.
Yeah, I did too.
I was trying to keep it in. I'm like,
I know. I'm like, Brent, Joe, no way.
I had goosebumps the entire time.
Oh my gosh.
For those of you just joining us, we just had Brent Jones on. If you'd like to donate to the Golden Heart Fund, there is the QR code in the top left-hand corner, I guess.
It's next to Ty's left ear.
Yes, it's next to Ty.
If you go to Ty's window, there's a QR code there, or you can look at the link that's scrolling below.
Right there.
Right. And you can donate, and that would be awesome. But on that note, I hope Ricky Pearsall's injury is not severe. We need him out there. I don't like the fact that already he's on the NFI list. Apparently it's not severe, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Why isn't it being disclosed then? Like that what bugs me. Like non-football injury list. I'm sorry, if you get a non-football injury, like if it's a mental health thing, okay. But like it doesn't seem to be, because to me mental health is serious. I don't think they would call that as not serious.
No. I saw a meme about an ingrown toenail. So I'm like, please let it be something minor like that. Yeah. Please.
Yeah. I mean, well, you know what? At minicamp, he did have the blue non-contact jersey on. So, and he was working out with Debo a couple of weeks ago. So who knows? But hopefully it's not serious. We need him out there. Next week is training camp, the vets report, and then we are off and running. You know, on that note, let's go to the 2-minute warning, please.
And here we go.
Rebecca, you're up.
Oh, hey. Well, I have nothing prepared. There were lots of birthdays, lots of things. All I know is that I am like 2 weeks away from getting to watch my Patrick Willis get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Couldn't be happier about that. But thank you, Brent Jones. Like he's one of my most favorite old-time Niners from growing up watching the 49ers. I loved him. And so happy that we had him on. And other than that, you know, it's just about to be real. We're getting close. Let's go Niners.
Shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys were awesome. You know, I didn't get to say hello to each and every one of you tonight, but, you know, as always, you guys are great. Brent Jones, you're awesome as always. You know, my brother would definitely take you up on going down to Dallas to watch a game for sure. And we'll definitely love to have you on during the season as well. You know what, guys, the BA situation, just let it all work itself out. That's all we can do. You know, enjoy training camp. You know, season is among us. And as always, go Niners. Yeah, Maddie.
NinersNE.com. All of the tickets for the year are available. You can't miss it. It says available tickets, and you can Venmo me, and I'll send them to you. And then you can access the season ticket holders menu line. Everybody wins. And then we can keep like opposing fans out. So NinersNE.com.
Boom.
Thank you, Brent Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Brent Jones. I was geeking out. I just kept wanting to sing me and Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones. That was my like own personal Brent Jones celebration whenever he would do something as a kid. Yep. So I'm like, oh man, I'm geeking out. But great to have him on. Yeah, always great to talk about those years. Got to give a special shout out to Tony Cope, who's in the chat. It's her birthday today. So happy birthday, Tony.
Tony.
Oh, happy birthday, Tony.
Happy birthday, Tony.
Oh, birthday
yes,
twins.
We are about the faithful. So there you go. And next week we got camp to talk about. So it's going to be fun.
Hey, Becca, it's your birthday too.
Not yet, but soon.
Wasn't yours the 15th? Or no? Am I just completely...
I thought it was later in July. Am I off?
You're both wrong, but it's fine.
Oh,
it's Tony's birthday, so it's her birthday.
We'll figure this out, folks.
I usually don't.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I don't really.
We took a bye week for my birthday week, so it was really exciting. I really appreciate that.
Happy belated birthday, Maddie.
Yeah.
Yes,
happy belated birthday.
Yeah, I always had the summer birthday, so like the last day of school is when I got my birthday celebration. Yeah.
There you go.
If you ever not want to feel special, just go on Facebook and look at how many people share the same birthday. And then you're just like, well, okay, it's not exactly the same.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
All right. So on that note, we'll see you next week.
Go
Have a good week,
Niners.
everybody. Thank you again to
Thanks,
Brent
gang.
Jones.
Thanks, Rob D.
Go donate to the Golden Heart Fund.
Yes.
And as
Also,
always,
by the
go
one
Niners.
thing, when you purchase tickets, percentage goes to the Golden Heart Fund, by the way. I forgot to mention.
Boom.
Love
Something
that.
needs to be done. Also,
Awesome.
percentage goes to Jay stuff, so everybody wins. See? Everybody
Love it.
wins. And you get
Win-win-win,
chicken
folks.
tenders. Everybody loves chicken tenders.
Yep.
Most people.
French fries. More than chicken tenders, but hey.
French fries too, yeah.
Are also good.
All right. We're out of
See you
here.
next week.
See
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.